All right, what is going on, everybody? What is going on? Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Let me get Instagram going live here real quick, and let's get the show started. Thank you for being a part of the show. Timberwolves over the Lakers, 103-96, the final score. Here, obviously, at Crypto.com Arena, so got to watch it firsthand. If I'm going to be honest with everybody, one of the ugliest games I've watched all season long from both teams. Maybe this was the way the Lakers thought they can get a W, is to kind of muddy the water. However you slice it, however, you try to explain this one. Here's the bottom line, and we'll go as long as we need to go today or until I get kicked out of Crypto.com Arena, because I probably won't be back here until October 1st or whenever preseason starts. Minnesota dominated the Lakers all series long. I mean, let's kind of simplify this. The Minnesota Timberwolves are so much better than the Lakers. I hate to kind of say it like that, right? I'm sure there's probably some Laker fans that don't like that I put it that way, but it's the reality. Lakers lost in 5 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Every expert out there, and let me throw me into the mix as well as just being wrong. I called the Lakers in 6 games. I thought LeBron, Luka, role players that understand their role, Austin Reaves, I thought was going to be really effective. The Lakers kind of found a way to close out the regular season, winning 50 games. They found out a way to be very effective and get the number 3 spot in the Western Conference. And as we sit here tonight at 10:05 on April 30th, they got handled. And every aspect that you want to look at from this series, you guys can tell me what was, the most disappointing. You guys can kind of figure out whatever that was in your eyes. But for me, Austin Reaves, no show. JJ Redick Chris Finch ran circles around JJ Redick. I mean, when it came to just X's and O's and execution and small little things that I think matter, role players, not even close. Do you know how bad the Minnesota Timberwolves were today? And they still won the game. They shot 15% from the three-point line. They went 7 of 47 from 3, 15%, and still won an NBA basketball game. I didn't know that was possible. Like, genuinely, I mean this when I'm saying it. I had no idea that was possible. Obviously, in tonight's post-game show, we'll hit on a number of different things. There's a lot of different things to talk about. What I'm really, really curious to hear is from JJ Redick, because maybe the personnel is not there. Maybe the Lakers got obviously a long way. The offseason is going to come. We're not going to actually have to wait. Here's JJ Redick's thoughts after the game.
We executed great in the fourth quarter. Missed shots at the rim, missed a bunch of threes. Shot 12 for 52 for the series in the fourth quarter from 3. On top of that, you lose 2 games in Minnesota, minus 12 in scoring opportunities, minus 13, and then you lose by 20 tonight. Just too many turnovers, too many offensive rebounds, and I think given the struggles scoring the ball, particularly early in the series, there's a trade-off. There's always a trade-off. You could say, play a center. We couldn't score, so there's a trade-off to everything with this. But we obviously put ourselves in a position to be in the game 3 times in the fourth quarter and just came up short every time. But again, the offensive part of it tonight in particular was we missed wide open threes. We missed a couple shots at the rim. We got good looks.
I'm going to come back to JJ in just a second here. Turn my volume down a little bit. I think JJ, I wasn't crazy the way JJ acted these last couple of days. I'll come back to it.
And Luka in close games, particularly on the stretch, like these are 2 of the best closers of all time. Did you see signs that their chemistry maybe in the fire wasn't where it needed to be in terms of, kind of one guy going, one guy not going? Were they together enough? Or was it kind of what you'd expect considering this team changed in mid-February or early February, sorry?
Yeah, I mean, we played 13 games. with our playoff rotation in the regular season. Bron and Luka obviously played more than that together, but these things take time. Luka just went through it in Dallas with Kyrie, and doesn't happen overnight. We obviously wished that I wouldn't call it chemistry because they have chemistry, but that part of it we could figure out better, and we were, I guess, in a better place and more comfortable with that in the fourth quarters of playoff games. But that partnership and that relationship is more than solid.
What was your message to the team after the game tonight?
I think there's always a mix of disappointment and gratitude, but certainly disappointed, and not something that I ever envisioned with this team, having to go in and talk to them, after losing the first round. But give Minnesota a lot of credit. They're a really good basketball team. And, I think our guys played hard enough and did all the right things. We tried to make it work with what we had and came up a little short.
JJ, how's Luka's back doing, and what did you see from him in terms of trying to just gut it out in the second half?
I assume it's tight. I don't know. I know he could play. Obviously, he had some good stretches there in the second half, scoring the basketball.
I'm gonna get another one or two.
Went with Kleber tonight. I think kind of didn't show your cards pregame about that. What was the thinking there, and what do you think he gave you after not playing like 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, just played 3 minutes in the first half and whatever 3 minutes in the second half. We knew it was going to be spot minutes. He obviously had a very tight minute restriction, but just positional size. He's also just an incredibly intelligent player. I thought it's similar to Dell, where the things that he does at a high level don't always show up in a box score. But obviously would have loved if you'd made that corner three, but wasn't the only one to miss corner threes in the fourth quarter.
Missed the first, I think maybe one or two questions. So sorry if this were asked, but Rudy, he was getting the offense on the offensive glass.
All right, I'm gonna jump in here just because I think I'd rather react with everyone than just keep playing that interview. Let's talk JJ Redick. So Lakers obviously lose the series to the Minnesota Timberwolves 4-1. I'll give Minnesota all the credit in the world because I think they deserve it. Last three playoff series for the Lakers, they got swept 4-0. Obviously in the Western Conference Finals. Last year, they lost 4-1 against Denver in the first round, and then they follow that up with 4-1 against Minnesota. There's a lot to get into, and part of the reasons of why the Lakers lost, it's drastically different than it was last year. So I'm not trying to tie the two together. But let me talk JJ Redick here real quick, because I think a couple things, stick out to me. Wasn't really a fan of JJ's last, let's call it 48 hours or so, or maybe you could even go a little bit further than that. Let me tell you guys what I mean. And I said this earlier, and I genuinely mean it. I think Chris Finch completely outcoached JJ Redick. And listen, Minnesota's a more complete team. They got more weapons. They got more size. They got more depth, and they showed it. And if you thought coming into this series that Lakers were going to win this series, like I did myself, well, Minnesota showed that nobody took them as serious as they should. And, coaching obviously is a big play once you get to the playoffs. I'm going to go back to something that I said. About a month ago, Amin El-Hassan came on here, and he got a lot of shit from Laker fans because Laker fans, I get it. I understand it. They want to they don't like when somebody tells them that their baby is ugly. But when Amin did it, Lakers were playing good ball. And Amin's point was, listen, I just don't think they could have this little of size and survive in the playoffs. And oh, by the way, your head coach has no experience in the postseason. He's going to need some, he's going to need some scars here as we go. I thought these playoffs really, really showed that from a Laker perspective and from a coaching perspective, JJ Redick was not ready for the moment, period. And listen, I'm not telling you that they'd have won the series if every move that he made was the right move, but let me just use today's game as an example. Rudy Gobert in tonight's game, okay, had 27 points and 24 rebounds. Those are Shaq-like stats. And those are monster stats. 27 and 24. Gobert didn't have 27 points and 24 rebounds because he's the most skilled big man in the NBA. He had 27 and 24 because the Lakers threw absolutely no size at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Listen, Gobert hasn't been a big factor in this series. We know that. We know he hasn't been a big factor this series. You couldn't have justified excuse me. You couldn't have justified 10 minutes for Jackson Hayes. You couldn't have just said, let me just give 5 minutes to Jackson Hayes, see if I can slow down Rudy Gobert. Because, by the way, nobody else was playing well from the Minnesota Timberwolves for the most part. We'll get into some of their stats and everything else. You couldn't justify 5 minutes for Jackson Hayes in the first half and 5 minutes for Jackson Hayes in the second half. It's the only 7-footer you have on the floor. And like I said, there's certain big men you got no answer for. Guys, I can't do anything about Giannis. I can't do anything about Nikola Jokic. A healthy Joel Embiid, there's nothing I could do with Joel Embiid. That's not Rudy Gobert. That's not. Some of the rotations for the Lakers in these last couple of games. Let me go back to something else that happened pregame that I hated. I think JJ Redick has hurt himself in the last 72 hours or so. He was asked the question in the pregame show or in the pregame, whether it's fair or it's not fair, whatever the case is. Maybe the question wasn't worded right. Maybe it wasn't a fair question, however you want to describe it. JJ Redick took it as this challenge that how dare you question me and my coaching. JJ, you did something in game 4 that's never happened in the history of the playoffs. You never subbed once. It's never happened in the history of the NBA. Don't be upset at people for asking that question. It's never happened before. And the Lakers didn't win the game. So that kind of comes with the territory. I thought the way he responded and he stormed out of the pregame interview, it's like, JJ, come on. This kind of comes with the territory. You can take some punches your way and even if you bullshit it, even if you BS your answer, the question was about the assistant coaches and how much he relies on the assistant coaches. And he said something to the effect of, you don't think I rely on my assistant coaches for every possession? He's probably 100% right. But all right, just BS the question so it doesn't become this, this viral moment where everybody's talking about it and everybody's sitting back and they're saying, JJ's really, he's really hurt that people are questioning his decision in game 4. Not a good moment for JJ. Just wasn't. And I'm one that told you guys, I even said this in the pregame show. I think JJ had a really, really good rookie season. I think JJ is going to be a good coach in the NBA. And I think JJ got outcoached in the playoffs. I think all of that could be won. Not his best performance tonight as well. I mean, I pay a lot of attention, when I kind of look at all the details here, I pay a lot of attention to what's it look like? How does the game look like? Are you trying different things? Are you being stubborn with your lineups? Lakers were I don't know if we'll ever see another game where the Minnesota Timberwolves, where you have another team on the opposite side. When you have another squad on the opposite side that shoots 15% from the three-point line, 7 of 47, and still get the W. That's wildly insane. This is not a perfect roster. Obviously, Rob Pelinka is going to have to go into the summer and do some real work. We all knew this was an incomplete roster, all those things. But I think one of the things that JJ Redick said that, obviously sticks out as well is he said that the last thing I thought I'd be doing is doing talking to my team that the season's over 5 games into the playoffs. So not a good look for JJ Redick. I know I've yet to look at any of your comments. Damn. That's a lot of comments. That's a lot of comments. I have, let's just say there's a lot of comments in there that I have not looked at. I'm going to start looking at the comments here in just a second. Let me just really quickly point out to a couple things from a Laker perspective. What a awful playoff run for Austin Reaves. 2 of 10 from the 3-point line, 5 of 14 from the field, 6 turnovers for Austin Reaves. Dorian Finney-Smith, no consistency from DFS. I'm a fan of DFS. Was not a fan of his game in this playoff run. Jared Vanderbilt had very small moments, and I think in this game looked lost and never wanted to look at the basket. Gabe Vincent was a no-show these entire playoffs as well, and unfortunately, that trend continued for him. And listen, the Stars, you guys can say whatever you want about the Stars. I get it. If you want to be critical of LeBron and Luka and this and that, you can. If you want to give them credit, I think there's times they deserve some credit. But they didn't have any help. And I think, one of the things that you can look at with the Minnesota Timberwolves, you could have games where Jaden McDaniels was phenomenal. Julius Randle was phenomenal. Rudy Gobert was phenomenal in this game. Dante DiVincenzo had some moments. Mike Conley had some moments. Not a lot of them, but had some moments. They had depth, and they didn't depend on 1 or 2 players. For the Lakers, it was completely the other way, and that's why they get sent home on April 30th. We don't even get to May 1st. Same exact thing that happened last year. We didn't get to May 1st, and the offseason starts. And obviously, there's going to be a lot to figure out for the Lakers and a lot of question marks with the Lakers. And, if I could say I think there's one positive thing to come out of this, I think when you get your ass kicked like this against Minnesota, who's not even a favorite, to come out of the Western Conference. I'm not disrespecting them, but they weren't. The favorites were OKC is obviously the favorite. A lot of people like what Golden State's doing now with Jimmy Butler. Denver's got championship pedigree. We'll see how far Minnesota goes. But when you get your ass kicked like the Lakers did, I think the one positive thing may be is there is nothing to really – there's not something that you think you can hold on to and say, well, maybe this, maybe that. No, they're going to have some drastic changes in the offseason if they want to be one of the best teams in the Western Conference. All right, let's take a look here at some of the comments. Let's take a look. Here. Luka isn't a team player. Okay? Been a Laker fan since 82. The unathletic defensive liability backcourt is not championship level. All right? We had no centers. That's all. No size. You can scheme games in the regular season, but that will get you exposed in the playoffs. 18 offensive rebounds. I mean, there's a number of things to look at. I'm just going to kind of actually power through some of these here. Damn, JJ was so bad. We traded this season to get Luka, which you're right about that. I think, obviously they did trade this season. And the idea was, well, what are you going to do in the summer? But I think with that, I think part of that territory, what comes with that is they played good enough. Let me put it this way. A lot of Laker fans did feel pretty confident about coming into the playoffs. Did they feel like they're going to win a championship? No. But did they feel like they can hang with some of these teams in the Western Conference, certainly hang with the Minnesota Timberwolves? Yes. I think that part is true. But with that in mind, this one wasn't even close. AR got exposed. Gasol Bynum, Gasol Odom, AD Howard, AD McGee. Now we have no big thanks to Magic and Pelinka. Yeah, it doesn't help that what you guys probably talking about Zubats, I'm assuming here. Say what you want about Luka, but he's the future, and the Lakers better make sure they don't lose him. A lot of conversations coming up this summer. Moment too big for Austin. He's a role player. Let me tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to pretend and try to defend anything for anyone. You know, if you guys want to take Austin Reaves was bad, period. And I don't really have I definitely don't have something from that perspective. All right, I got a lot of supers I'm going to get into here in just a second. Just a quick reminder here, if you guys don't mind, please subscribe to the channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. As you guys know, this is, obviously my day-to-day, and we'll continue to talk Lakers, talk NBA. We'll kind of see how the channel evolves in the offseason. That's kind of a little bit of a work in progress. But if you guys don't mind subscribing to the channel, obviously it would mean a ton. I know they got interviews coming up, so I want to wait here on getting to some of the super chats. Let me see if I could get to a couple more comments as we just before we get started here. I had over 1,100 comments waiting here. Maybe talk T-Wolves. I got no problem talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'll tell you exactly. I'll do it up until an interview comes up, which I think one's about. Let me save it because I think an interview is coming as we speak. Austin Reaves on the Lakers' loss, being eliminated from the playoffs. Let's take a listen.
Over. How do you kind of gauge that emotionally relative to what your hope and expectation was when round one started?
Obviously, this wasn't our expectation, our goal. But, to be honest with you, as a group, we just didn't play good enough to, beat them. That's really it.
When you look ahead to the offseason, recognize that I think you, Luka, and LeBron only played 21 games together. What do you think you need most to reach your full potential, whether that be something from the outside or time to gel?
Just continuing to, grow together. Obviously, they're unbelievable basketball players, and the more time you spend, not with just them, but the whole unit, you're just going to become, more cohesive, more together, know exactly what, you're going to do every possession when things get tough, when you're rolling, how you want to play the game. I thought we did a really good job of that in the regular season, and we just, like I said, we just didn't play good enough in this series.
Austin, kind of a big picture question, if you'll allow it. Over the course of this season, there's been different moments where, I think right before the Luka trade, where the team is feeling really good about itself. After the Dallas game, where the team is feeling really good about itself, and the different version of it. Where do you think it kind of just didn't click fully for you guys? Is there one or two things you can put your finger on as to say, like, why maybe that belief went unrealized?
I think there was. I really just don't think we played good. You give credit to Minnesota. They, played a really good series. But I think it come down to just us not being us, and obviously I didn't have the series that I wanted to have. So, you can, point the finger at me. I really don't care. I wasn't, good enough to help us be successful, and I wish I could have, did more, but I didn't. I struggled, but you live and you learn, and I can guarantee that I'll, get back to work this off season and, be better.
Austin, you just touched on you're playing the series, but taking a step back, how do you view this season overall for you? I know you don't like talking about yourself, but just in terms of your growth and just what you showed this year.
I had a lot of fun. Forget the basketball. I enjoyed every single day going to work, being around these guys, the coaching staff, training staff, weight staff, everybody in the organization. And then, from game one to, game 82. And now I just had a lot of fun. This is, I always speak about how, growing up playing, with your best friends in high school, like sometimes nothing will ever top that because you've been able to, play high school basketball with guys that you grew up with your whole life. But this is right up there with all that. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I have fun regardless of, statistics or anything. I enjoy going to work every single day and, putting in the work and going to battle with these guys.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. Keep things going. I know people want to react, so we'll just kind of get to the reactions. Yeah, just a really, really tough end to a season for Austin Reaves. Just a very, very poor playoff performance. I want to look at this. I'm going to actually look at Austin Reaves. Let's look at his numbers specifically. Here's the good news. The good news is we'll have plenty of time to figure all this out. I think for me with Austin Reaves, it's more about efficiency, but let me just kind of give you his numbers, okay? He had a game where he had 6 turnovers like he did tonight and shot 35% from the field. 17, 7, and 4, that was the game 4 loss. 27 and 4, that was the game 3 loss, but shot 40% from the field. Had a 16, 5, and 5, had a 16, 3, and 3. Both of those percentages not great. Actually had 50% performance. Oh, that was the one he went 7 of 14, but 1 of 6 from the 3-point line. I was doing this morning, or I was doing this in the pregame. And this is me just, kind of giving statistically, kind of giving everybody an idea from a Reaves perspective. If I had to rank the best players in this series, I'm going to tell you, of importance here. And I'm not even going to do it by ranking, 1, 2, whatever the case is. Anthony Edwards, top 5, I would say Anthony Edwards, LeBron, Julius Randle, Luka Doncic, and then probably Jaden McDaniels, even though he had a bad game today. Then I'd put Naz Reid, and then I'd probably put Austin Reaves. So Reaves in a series where obviously the Lakers are going to need him, you're going to assume he's going to do 25 and 5 and maybe even have a breakout in the playoffs. Just didn't happen. So really, really poor performance for him, and really, really obviously poor performance that from that perspective, because you're expecting great things from Austin Reaves in the playoffs, and they just weren't there. He just wasn't that impactful. Like I don't know how else to put it. He really wasn't. Shot 32% from the 3-point line in the series. So that part is, certainly disappointing. And I think as we get each one of these interviews, maybe we'll get a chance to hear from LeBron, maybe get a chance to hear from Luka. As we look at these individual players, I thought Austin Reaves definitely didn't live up to the billing in the postseason. I thought JJ Redick, we already talked about, didn't live up to the billing in the postseason. And those are key essential pieces. And if you don't have those two key essential pieces, you were gonna need a lot of guys to contribute. But Austin Reaves almost had to be a guarantee or a lock, and he wasn't at all. So I don't think there's really much more to say in regards to that. I think that's just kind of the reality of the situation. I'm not, trying to be dramatic or anything. He wasn't good. He wasn't reliable. He wasn't the player that everybody thought he was going to be in the playoffs. Okay, I'll tell you who is reliable. I got to give some love here to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to him for being a partner. Really, really appreciate his support on the channel. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story about the relationship with Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. I've known the guy for about 5 years now. He's had his own firm for about 10 years. He was with me when I was over at 710 ESPN, and here he is, continuing to support me as I do my own ventures here on YouTube. Partnerships are incredibly important, so I appreciate that he's a part of this. I'm going to tell you about a quick story here. He shared a case over these last couple of weeks. He was in a case representing his client against Home Depot. Went for about 5 years. Home Depot didn't settle. Brad did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he took them to trial. A couple weeks ago, he had his closing arguments at the Van Nuys Courthouse in Los Angeles County. The jury delivered a $4.6 million verdict on his behalf of the Wallace firm's client and found Home Depot responsible for nearly $3 million of that amount, which was significantly more than Home Depot's highest pretrial offer on the case. I think that says it all right there. I like giving real-life examples because if you need an injury attorney, you're stuck in a situation or predicament, or a family member that's stuck in a predicament, reach out to me personally, AlanSliwa@gmail.com. You could reach out to me personally, and I'll make a personal introduction to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. He can help anybody in the state of California. We have our URL there, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Something to keep in mind in regards to that. Free consultation if you're looking to obviously get a consultation. All right, let's keep looking here. Let's keep this thing moving, keep the show moving along. me find this here real quick. I don't know how much of Gabe Vincent's interview is still going, but I did mention that Gabe had a terrible postseason as well. Let's take a quick listen.
Now, so curious to see what will happen, but obviously it's just fuel to the fire. The goal remains the same. Next time we step into this locker room together, we're trying to come out here and compete for a title. So the goal doesn't change. It's just an unfortunate end to the year.
How about your season personally when you look back at it?
I was glad to play a full year. Having last year being injured, playing maybe a handful of games, it's great to put together a full season. I had some stretches where I found some good rhythm. But, I would have loved to have more of an impact tonight, obviously, in this series as well. So the season didn't end the way I wanted it to either, personally.
You guys had an answer for a lot tonight, but Rudy Gobert was almost unstoppable. What would you see? How could he maybe contain him, or was it impossible at that point?
He seemed to get his hand on every rebound. That alone was, that was his impact as well. So he finished things at the rim. He made some free throws, which he doesn't necessarily do well. So, like I said, they had some guys step up and play big minutes and have a good game, and he was one of them.
Is there a feeling of unfinished business?
Absolutely. I think it's just, we fell short. So I think you always have that feeling, but it's just more so a feeling of disappointment, frustration.
All right, that is Gabe Vincent right there. So Gabe Vincent giving his reaction. Just to let me simplify something here real quick. That has not been a good signing. Just hasn't. 11 million, 3 years, 33 million total. Just hasn't been a good signing. Gabe found a little bit of impact this year, went through a stretch where you felt like, okay, hey, maybe there's something here. And JJ Redick even showed, too, that he didn't have any confidence in Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent's a player that came from Miami with a little bit of championship pedigree. And you couldn't find, ways to have him be more impactful. And the answer is no, they didn't. So all parties have lost so far in that one. Philip, trade AR for Giannis immediately. Absolutely. Yeah, just make that call to Milwaukee. They'll do that in a heartbeat. The Giannis piece, I will tell you, is interesting. What the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo, what's crazy? And I'm not telling you Giannis is coming to the Lakers. I'm not. But what I am going to tell you is what's crazy is how many different people and networks keep saying, I think Giannis has played his last game in Milwaukee. All right, where does he go? We'll see where he ends up going. Amir, thank you for all your hard work this season. Pre-game, post-game, even member shows. Can't wait for what's next for you and your channel. Thank you, Amir. Very nice of you, brother. I appreciate you very much. Thank you, Amir. Always on the channel, always very generous with the super chat, so I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. Sam Rodriguez. LeBron and Luka don't seem on the same page. Yeah, listen, I don't know if they don't seem like they're on the same page or nobody's on the same page. Tonight's game, can I say this? I was sitting another gal next to me, and she covers the Lakers as well, covering a lot of the NBA games. And I kept telling her, I'm like, this is one of the ugliest basketball games I've ever watched. Does anyone feel like they were on the same page in the playoffs? It didn't seem like it to me. And, look, I think this series was lost. 2 games stand out to me most of this series. I thought game 1, the Lakers set a tone, and it was the wrong tone. It was, yeah, we're here, but, we'll kind of slowly work our way into this series. And Minnesota just came out through a haymaker right from the start, and all of a sudden Lakers were backpedaling the rest of the series. Okay, I thought that game was key. And then game 4 was basically the series. Game 4 was, all right, well, you better tie up this series to a piece, and you better close out this game, because if you're not able to do that, I just don't see that much light at the end of the tunnel. And, even tonight, Minnesota came out and had a 14-point lead. So that's a good example to it as well. They had a 14-point lead. Lakers finally got the lead for a quick second. And then, down the stretch, they did what they did. So I think there's a little bit, however you want to kind of slice and dice this, this just got, Lakers were playing from behind the entire time, and nobody was on the same page. Literally nobody was on the same page. Thank you, Sam, for the super there. Seiko. JJ has been in denial and lacked the self-reflection, making excuses, not being accountable throughout these playoffs. Yeah, maybe that was my frustration, and I said it was a bad 72 hours for him. I think what I meant by that is it's okay to admit when you were wrong. It's okay to admit things didn't work out the way you wanted it to. It's okay. It happens. But you don't have to pretend like, well, you're all wrong. I'm the right one.
And just
Here's Rui.
what do you feel like will stand out to you the most as you head into the summer?
I mean, it sucks, you know. We definitely didn't expect us to get eliminated in the first round. We're pretty, you know, we felt really good about it before the series started. So, yeah, it's just, it's kind of sad, you know.
What do you think this team needs in order to match up the expectations you have for yourself with the performance in the postseason?
I mean, you guys can see the score. You know, we didn't get the rebound. You know, we need somebody to get rebounds. You know, I gotta be one of them. You know, start more engaging the rebounds. Of course, I can't just be face to face boxing out Gobert the whole game. You know, I can get a rebound. You know, that's the whole thing. He's 7'2". You know, 7'5" wingspan, whatever. He's a big man. And the problem was, I think, because we're trying to help Gobert put on two guys, and the other guy, you know, diving into offense, rebound, and it's easy, you know. And it's not only him. The Gobert is not only the guy that can get rebounds from them. You know, most of the other starting five, except Mike Conley, can, you know, get a rebound. So I think that was a game for us.
I'll get one more in here.
I know you just mentioned the rebounding, but as someone who is playing out of position a lot and playing up at center, or you know, depending on the matchups, like how physically taxing was that with you guys playing so small for really since mid-January on?
It's tough, you know. Unfortunately, I'm not a 5-man. I'm 6'8", 240. It's tough, you know. It is what it is, you know. You know, the coaches trust me to put me in the situation. You know, I try to fight through that, but you know, there's a limit to it. You know, like I said, you know, that's only I can do is literally facing God, and you know, maybe I can tap. You know, I can't just go get rebound like that. So it's tough, but you know, that was our team situation this year, and it is what it is. And yeah, I don't know.
All right, we're gonna stop right there. I'd rather kind of keep the show flowing here. I will say this about Rui, if you want to give somebody some credit. I thought Rui, for the most part, especially these last couple of games, came through for the Lakers. You know, I was looking at Austin Reaves' numbers, but Rui, let's see what Rui was in this series. I mean, almost by every game he had. This is why his numbers are skewed a little bit. He had two really good games. Had 23 in Game 4 and 23 in Game 5. 8 and 4 in Game 3, 11 and 5 in Game 2, and then Game 1 had 9 points and 5 rebounds. So got a little bit better as the series went along. I mean, I think his average is going to look good because of the 46 points he had total combined in these last two games. But yeah, he was as good as Austin Reaves, right? Like, if you kind of think about it here, better than Austin Reaves, shooting percentage, his percentage from the 3-point line. And really you needed that to be flipped. You needed Austin Reaves to have the no question about he's the third best player on the Lakers, and then Rui on top of that doing what he did in this series. That part wasn't there. Seiko, the self-reflection, I left that one up there because I do like that comment. I think that comment's a really, really great point. I think JJ Redick, there was a little bit of denial. I agree. I think a little bit of denial from JJ Redick and not wanting to admit his mistakes. Yesterday he was asked the question. He's like, I don't regret it. Talking about the, you know, not making a substitution, even though everybody else is like, yeah, you were wrong on that. All right, get humbled a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. J Dip, Slee, appreciate you. Thanks for the season. Waking up to your show has been a highlight for me this year. Anyways, the team performance was despicable, and Luka plays no defense. Awful. J-Dip, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super. Thank you for the 20 spot and the compliment. Luka's not going to ever become a defender. I want everybody to know that. The question's going to be, is there a way to build a team to hide Luka? And that's kind of what the Dallas Mavericks did. So that's obviously going to be what the Lakers are going to try to do. Here's DFS.
Season then.
Doran, you have a player option for next season. Have you thought about that at all?
No, not really. Just trying to get to the second round, man. I worry about that, and, around the draft part and, summer league and all that stuff. So, I know if we're the one, it'll handle itself. So,
Dorian, you mentioned wanting to get to the second round. If you do return to the same, pick up the player option. What did this series, I guess, tell you or inform you about what this team needs to make sure you guys reach your goal or get closer to it next season?
We just probably need a little bit more time together. First of all, sometimes when you got that time, you can really get on each other without, thinking about somebody else's feelings. And they was the better team this series. To be honest, they shot 10 more times each game. They won a possession game for sure.
All right, last one.
Dorian, I know it's fresh right now, the season being over, but in the offseason, what are the aspects of your game you want to improve and work on?
I just continue to be me. Shoot the ball when I'm open, shoot with confidence, attack closeouts. That's about it. I'm 30. I'm 31 years old. I'm kind of stuck who I am. So I would say just get to know the guys around here a lot more. That's about it.
All right, keep things rolling here. So J-Dip, thank you again for one thing I was just saying on the Luka stuff. He's not going to change as a defensive player. The question is going to happen. The question is, can you put together a team where there aren't so many holes on the defensive side because of a guy like Luka, or if you got Austin Reaves and Luka in the backcourt together? Those questions are obviously going to be up for grabs there. John Wayne, thank you for the super. JJ Redick, Jackson Hayes not playing tonight. Insert Kleba. Result, Rudy Gobert, 27 points, 24 rebounds. Still think he knows what he's doing. What's funny is it's not like they've been using, let me do this since I've done this on everybody else. It's not like the Minnesota Timberwolves have been using Rudy Gobert a ton. But, I mean, look at – it's crazy. Look at Rudy Gobert's numbers. 2.6 rebounds, 6.6 rebounds, 1.3 rebound, 1 point and 3 rebounds in game 3, 5 points and 10 rebounds in game 4, and that was his best game so far. And then exploded for 27 and 24. My issue with JJ Redick is you're not going to try something different. I mean, your plan clearly is not working. Try something different. Give something else a shot. So, John Wayne, to answer your question, and I said this a couple different times, this was not a good playoff series for J.J. Redick. It just wasn't. Just wasn't. Thank you for everything, Slee. Till next season. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate you very much. Appreciate all the supers here. I'm going to get to all the other comments here. Don't worry. I will try to get to as many as I can here. LeBron is going to Dallas with Kyrie and AD. Super obvious. All right, thank you, brother. I appreciate you sharing your comment here, and I appreciate the super. Yeah, the conversation about LeBron, I think, some people right now are mentioning LeBron and they're talking a little bit about LeBron and LBJ and saying that, hey, is this guy going to be here? Is he not going to be here? I don't see LeBron going anywhere. I feel like once LeBron became a Los Angeles Laker when he left the Cleveland Cavaliers, he was here for the long term. And that's just genuinely how I feel. If something else happens, then something else happens. Keith Tate. Chris Finch held a master class in coaching this this series, while JJ's inexperience was on glaring display, roster needs a complete overall with the first priority is a big and perimeter defense. If there's one positive to take away, all right. Like a spilled drink under me. I don't know where that came from. If there's one positive to take away, and I do believe this, the positive I would say is nobody's going to try to bullshit or sell you that, hey, you know what, they're fine. They're just one player away. They're this, they're that. No. I think sometimes it's good to kind of get your ass kicked because you just know that, all right, we're not one player away or two players away. There is going to be an overhaul. And frankly, when you trade for Luka Doncic and you don't get a big back and, you know, you don't go through with that Mark Williams trade, clearly you got a ton of work to do. So, yes, first priority, second priority. There's a lot of different things that the Lakers are going to have to figure out, and they're now going to have to build a roster around Luka. And maybe some people love the idea, and I think there's actually some Laker fans that are going to say, no, I mean, Luka's not in shape. He's this, that. And frankly, I think part of this is on Luka as well to be in better shape. It really is. I mean, there is some of this from a Luka perspective where that's something that he's going to have to figure out. HH, bro, you always very, very generous with your super chats. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for supporting the channel, and really appreciate all these supers that are coming in here. John Wayne, if you have the GOAT up by 10 in the fourth quarter of a must-win playoff game, do you expect to win? Not if your GOAT scores 0 points when it counts. Are we going to GOAT talk right now? We going to GOAT talk? All right, speaking of your GOAT, I'm just going to assume that that's your GOAT. You hate him so much, I think you actually really love him. Here's LeBron.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, for me, since my first NBA Finals appearance, I think in 2007, the moment I got an opportunity to be a part of that and taste that feeling, from there on, every season that I did not make it to the finals or did not win a championship has been a disappointment. So it'd be the same for me, you know. It'd be the same off season of disappointment and unfulfillment, you know, have an opportunity, you know, to play longer and give yourself an opportunity to play for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. So nothing changes for me.
The fact that you're going to enter into an offseason on a roster that has Luka Doncic, that secured the number 3 seed in the West in a really tough West this year, what type of thoughts does that give you about your end game? And, you know, how many more years will we see you play?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Something I sit down with my family, my wife, and my support group and kind of just talk through it and see what happens. And then just have conversations with myself on how long I want to continue to play. I don't know the answer to that right now, to be honest. So let me see.
LeBron, kind of too along those lines, did you know, there's belief and teams always believe to a degree. This team had like that real, it seemed like that real genuine belief. Did that energize you in ways and challenge you mentally and physically in ways that you could see wanting to do more of this, having that opportunity?
No. You know, I walk into the practice facility and walk into this arena with high energy all the time, you know, and I just try to spill that to my teammates. I try to spill the belief into my teammates, play as hard as I can, do whatever I can out on the floor where I have the opportunity to do it. But, you know, I think the only thing is it's up to me if I want to, you know, continue to play or how long I want to continue to play. It's ultimately up to me. So it has nothing to do by anybody else.
You've taken on so many different challenges in your career. Being paired mid-season with another ball dominant superstar. It was one that you'd never had before. How did that go? What were the challenges with that? And what areas do you think that pairing could be better in the future with more time?
Yeah, anytime you make an acquisition or a big acquisition in the middle of the season, it's always going to be challenging. And not only for me, but for AR and for the rest of the group on how we're playing. I mean, we went from, the ball wanting to touch the ball in AD's hands. Either off pick and rolls or off post ups or off elbow catches. But it started with myself and AR kind of handling the ball handling, and then making sure we got 80 the ball. And the whole obviously dynamic changed. When we made the acquisition of Luka to, how can we change our approach to best fit his game, and how can we center our game around his. I think it's always challenging when you make like I said, a big acquisition like that. There's were times where we, obviously didn't look so well, a couple games early on. But I think we kind of figured it out, kind of later in the season. The more and more games we had, I still don't think we had enough time to mesh. But for the time that we had, I thought we ended the regular season very well to, be top 3 in the West. And obviously, we know how tough the West is. I thought that was a good test for us. And, we had some challenges, but I think, ultimately having a guy like that is very dynamic for any franchise.
All right, interesting stuff there. A lot of obviously questions about LeBron's future. Very LeBron-esque to kind of, keep you guessing and wondering a little bit. Who knows? Listen, there might come a time where LeBron just makes a decision. Hey, guys, I'm done playing the game. It could be this offseason, and maybe he shocks everybody. I have no idea. If I was a betting man, I would think that LeBron's coming back next season as a Los Angeles Laker. So that's what I would guess. Jory C on Instagram. I hate to say it, but we probably won't be contending on a contending path until Bron is gone. All right, let me read a couple more here on Instagram. Slee, gonna miss you. Not ready to say bye to the season yet. Not sure why after this series. Probably because it just came out of nowhere. No one expected that was going to happen, and it did happen. I don't see any chemistry with LeBron and Luka. Let's get another one in here. It was a bad hire, and it was a good desperation when the guy they wanted to burn them to churn it down. Listen, JJ's obviously going to get a lot of heat for how this playoff matchup, ended up when you lose in 5 games and you kind of look as bad as the Lakers did in this. Sure, of course it's going to be there. How can there not be criticism towards him? How can there not be criticism that goes towards JJ Redick? I get that. Let me read a couple more on Instagram. Instagram's been, what do you think LeBron is going to do with his next contract? I still think he's going to be a Laker. I really do think so. I think he's still playing at too high of a level to just walk away from the game. He's still the face of the league. One of the faces of the league. Let's get another one in here. JJ, now we're starting to see things. JJ was a desperation hire. They made a run. Obviously, they made a run at somebody else, and that didn't happen, and JJ came next. Listen, I'm going to say this again. I thought JJ had a good rookie season as the head coach. He was better than I thought, but he also wasn't good in the playoffs, if that helps. He's not winning anything for us or for him, Slee. Talking about LeBron there. You can't expect the team to succeed after a blockbuster trade. Come back to earth, guys. Listen, I'm going to go back to what I was saying from the beginning here. I'm going to go back to what I was saying. The reason why people thought the Lakers had a shot at making some noise in the Western Conference was because they played a good regular season. They played well in the regular season. They finished off 50 wins, number 3 seed in the Western Conference. Of course, you can have some positivity towards the Lakers. That the Lakers convinced you that their flawed roster, they can still make some noise with. It didn't happen. Obviously, clearly it didn't happen. All right. fanboy coaching. AR is trash. No defense. 2 and 10 threes. And JJ and Ham can't connect. 40 minutes in the game. Like I said 2 years ago, Ham, D'Lo, and AR are trash. I don't think AR is trash, but he did not have a good series. Definitely did not have a good series. All right, they're still doing that interview with LeBron, so that one's probably going to go for a little bit here. We get some more comments here. John, I already answered this one. You go ahead and put LeBron where you want to put him. Put him as a GOAT. You don't have to. Amir, I'm the biggest LeBron fan ever, but it may be time for him to possibly be the third option. Depends on the roster, of course. We'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. In a perfect world, I would love for, wouldn't that be amazing if LeBron, wouldn't it be amazing if they eventually got another player and just naturally LeBron became the third best player on the team? I mean, I don't think LeBron will be arguing for more talent on the roster. I don't think so. Could have kept AD and lost in the first round. Guys, we do know, everybody does know, obviously, the reason why the Lakers went out and got obviously why they went out and got him. They got him for all the obvious reasons of the future. All right. Will we hear from Luka? I'm not 100% sure. Will I get kicked out before we hear from Luka? That could happen as well. Thank you, Slee. Knew would be the end, but you made it fun. I'm not going to be negative. They need solid size and D on every spot besides Luka and Bron. Get that, and rings will come. I'm actually excited about the Lakers offseason. I really am. Believe it or not, I'm very optimistic about. They kind of have one of their future players. Now the question is going to be, can Luka get himself in the best shape he's ever been in his life, number one? And number two, what are they going to do with the rest of the roster? Let's find out. I think the summer is going to be fun to talk about. Northborough AES, thank you for being a member. Thank you for always supporting the channel. And thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you very much. Spoolio 10. So in acquiring Luka, was this supposed to be a throwaway season afterwards with a chance for the playoffs being a bonus, or even in acquiring Luka, is this outcome a failure? They set a new expectations after they got Luka. The expectation was you're at least getting out of the first round of the playoffs. They weren't able to do that. So if I got to define this away, they got Luka, which was a success because you're supposed to now build for the future. But this season and these playoffs was a failure. You were a number 3 seed. You lost to the number 6 seed. A lot of people expected you to win, and you got outclassed. And it's not like this went 7 games. They lost in 5. So I would look at this as a failure. That's my own personal opinion. I thought they get out of the first round. I mean, at a minimum, you were getting out of the first round. They didn't just lose. You didn't walk away saying, guys, you know what? Timberwolves and Lakers, this was a dogfight. It went 7 games, and somebody just has to win, and Minnesota made a couple more buckets than the Lakers. Lakers got their asses kicked this series. They got their asses kicked. That's disappointing to me. I look at that more as a disappointment. Thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you. Hero-san, Hayes was a part of our success post-AD, but we'll just let Rudy go for 30. JJ panicked 2 games in a row. Yeah. I like that. Panicked. He panicked. And I think that JJ would tell you that he did it. And JJ would tell you that this and that and everything else, but it was not. Whatever your taste of JJ Redick was coming into the playoffs, that taste changed after the postseason. It did. And I'm not trying to be dramatic, and I'm not trying to tell you, they got to go find a different coach. I'm not. You guys know me. You guys know my style. I'm not trying to say that at all. But what I'm trying to tell you is I had a perception of JJ before we got to the postseason, and now that the playoffs ended in 5 games against Minnesota, and Minnesota won the series 4-1, my perception's a little bit different. It is a little bit different than JJ. JJ's got some work to do. He's got some humbling of himself. He's got to also take some criticism and be okay with it and be more comfortable with it. Like I said earlier, I wasn't a fan of how he handled the pregame presser. It kind of was like a child storming out of a room. It's like, JJ, questions are going to come that are challenging. Questions are going to come that you're going to so completely disagree with and say, that's a bullshit question. You know what? Bullshit back. Say, yeah, whatever happened a couple days ago, if it's something that I feel like I need to learn from, I'm going to learn from it. I Of course, I depend on my assistant coaches. I love my assistant coaches. Next question. That's it. Instead, it's a viral moment of him storming out of a presser. Got work to do. He's got work to do. Told you, Slee, before the series started. Worst possible matchup for us. Too big. Reaves has no next level, and JJ not playing Hayes was amplified. One of the things, and I hope there's a little bit of, I don't know, maybe credibility or you guys have some respect towards it. I got no problem admitting when I was wrong. I thought Lakers were winning the series in 6. I really did. Really did. I thought they would be tied 2 apiece through 4 games. Yeah, if somebody called against that, then, kudos to you for making that happen. Thank you for the super, brother. Matthew Wallow, Matthew with a 20 spot. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate it. Even if you use Hayes to foul, you can let Minnesota and Rudy get such easy second chance opportunities. You can't let. They were able to have a horrible 3-point shooting night and still win. JJ's condescending behavior wears on fans and Rui. I listened to Robert Horry when I was getting ready to come on live. I throw on Spectrum, and I can just catch maybe a minute or two. I'm still setting up a couple things, and then I go live. I heard Robert Horry saying something that, I really agree with, too. You got to make adjustments. Where were the adjustments from JJ? You got to try different things. Sometimes you just got to try something. I'm not telling you it's going to work, but just try it. And maybe hypothetically, maybe there is, something that happens that it sets a spark. The gal that I was sitting next to, I kept saying, and maybe I was getting annoying with this. I'm like, throw Jordan Goodwin in. Throw an energy guy in. Throw somebody that might get a couple of steals. Maybe gets the crowd excited for a quick second. Try something. What the hell do you got to lose? I mean, Rudy Gobert looked like Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and you name me another great center. All of those players he looked like combined. You want to throw a 7-footer in there and just kind of see what happens? Maybe nothing happens. Maybe Rudy Gobert continues to dominate. Okay, but even if Gobert continues to dominate, at least you use one of the only pieces of size that you have on the roster. Matthew, thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you very much. Victor, thank you, Slee. Looking forward to the offseason coverage. Lots of coffee talk in the morning about Lakers the next season. Subbed Austin, and a big would have saved this game. I don't know what would have saved it. Didn't it feel like this was just a matter of time? Probably just a matter of time. All right, listen. Let's see what he's got to say. Bronny giving a little perspective on the season. Let's take a listen.
Get back at it next year.
What are some of the things you learned from when you started training camp all the way to now?
Just being a professional, just coming into work and making sure I get all my duties done that day and keep my body right, eat healthy, great, sleeping great, everything like that, just being a pro. I think that's, the main thing I try to focus on this year.
How much did your dad help with all that?
I'd say he helped a lot, not just this year, but, being with him from, when he was in the Cavs. Not that I remember a lot from back then, but just being, around him and being around the pros and, picking up notes and stuff like that and watching other players, I feel like it helped me a lot.
What was your biggest takeaway from your first season in the league?
I think just keep going, whatever anyone says or, thinks about me, just keep my head down and staying true to myself and, just keep going, keep getting up every day and working the same as I did yesterday. So it was a great stepping stone for me.
All right, I'm gonna stop it right there. I got more stuff to get into. We'll spend. We got in a whole offseason just to hit on what Victor said right here. I don't think anything would have changed. I think they could play again another 7-game series, and Minnesota's probably winning 4-1. Maybe they're sweeping. Maybe their confidence level is only different. So, what the Lakers do from here, I think it's going to be a fascinating offseason. I'll tell you that. I think the offseason is going to be very, very interesting. Let's get another super near. Did anyone really think we'd make the finals without a big? No. But I thought you wouldn't get your ass kicked in the first round. Really, really thought they would, especially because Gobert also, for 4 games really was not a huge factor. I'm not saying he had no impact. Gobert had impact. He just didn't have the impact that you thought he would. And then all of a sudden, he's the greatest center we've ever seen. So, there's another piece of it right there. All right, let's look at a couple more here. By the way, I don't know how much longer I can go or will go, just simply because I'm not at home. I'm at crypto. So it seems like a lot of people are stuck on this, not playing Hayes, Dalton. Doesn't make any sense. Let's see. LeBron cannot go a full season. He's freaking 41 in December, guys. LeBron, when asked what the roster needs, my guy, and he was gone the next week. I'll have to look back on that. If there's some, big quotes that come from that interview, we'll follow that tomorrow. I did cut off some of that interview. I wanted to get back with you guys here. All right, let's see a couple more here. Nico Harrison was right. Can't win with Luka. Maybe. Guys, you got to let this thing marinate, They bought the house and they got to gut the house. The house needs to be, they got to remodel some things along those lines. I think that's what it's going to come down to, but they got a house in a really, really good neighborhood. That would be my comp here when it comes, if I'm giving a real estate analogy. All right, let's get a couple more in here. A lot of people giving their opinion on Reaves. Obviously, their thoughts on how Austin Reaves ended up this season. John Wayne, LeBron James, 28-25 in the playoffs as a Laker. 28-25 as a Laker. 1 championship bubble. 28-25. 1 loss in the conference final. 3 first-round exits and 2 years missing the playoffs. Statue is out of the question. Yeah, listen, this isn't a statue debate. We can have that another time. I would need more for a statue, but I think the franchise is going to give the man a statue. So I think whether you want a statue or you don't, statue's going outside of Crypto.com arena. But actually, I think that's, probably a conversation for another time. John, I appreciate the supers, brother. I appreciate you throwing them in there. But, obviously I'm well aware of your not too much love for LeBron there. Tommy, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. John and Gary, Slee, this may be hard for you to understand, but Lakers needed to continue playing like they did in the regular season. It's not rocket science. This may be hard for me to understand. Why would that be hard for me to understand? They got ran, brother. And they set the tone after game 1. I forget who I was telling, but I keep going back to this. A couple things really stick out to me this series. Look at the way they started this series in the playoffs. Post-game, after game 1 was like, yeah, we're just kind of trying to – it looks like we're just getting into playoff mode. It's like, what are you guys talking about? You're getting into playoff mode. You had to give away home court and give away game 1 to get accustomed to what playoff basketball was going to be. What are you talking about? It kind of set the tone for the entire series. No, this one's not tough for me to understand at all. And like I said, they could take the same way they were playing in the regular season. Minnesota outclassed them, outcoached them, outplayed them. You think of any way that you want. The Minnesota Timberwolves get a lot of credit. And the criticism is going to go towards the team that just lost in 5 games. Not very difficult to understand. John Wayne, I know Nico is somewhere smiling. I know I am. Nico Harrison was right. Can't win with Luka, maybe. I think I read that one a little bit earlier. Okay. I think you could look at this both ways. Nico needed Kyrie, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, Gafford, PJ Washington, Lively. He needed all those guys to be healthy to try to justify what he was doing. He never had that, obviously in his first year. And we'll see when Kyrie comes back. He was at the game today. The Lakers will be fine with Luka. They need to rebuild the roster. Now it's on Rob Pelinka to go make it happen. Does anybody not want Luka as a Laker? Is that what I'm trying? Is that the vibe that I feel like some people are trying to give? Now, I will tell you this. The man's got to be in better shape, period. That part I agree with. I don't argue with anyone on that one. Thanks for letting us vent. Anthony, come on. Thank you for the super, brother. It's my job. My job to let you guys vent. It's good for me, too. I could vent as well. Not a LeBron game 1 feel-out game. Yeah, I hated that. When they kept saying, like, yeah, it's a feel-out game. We're just kind of trying to figure out something. You just gave up home court advantage in the first round to feel it out. How come Minnesota didn't need a feel-out game? Bummed to see Reaves struggle after such a great second half of the season. Reading a couple of these on Instagram. Anthony, thank you again for the super, brother. I appreciate you. Everybody else, thank you for the super as well that's coming in. A couple more comments. Luka and Giannis will get it done. A lot of chatter about Giannis. Where is he going to end up? Where is he going to end up? Do the Knicks go all in for him? Does Miami find a way? Does Pat Riley and the Miami Heat find a way to try to get a hold of him? Giannis going to be talk of the summer. Well, they were eliminated yesterday. Lakers eliminated the next day. I mean, of course, in a perfect world, Giannis is exactly the guy that you want with Luka. How do you get him? How do you acquire him? Another one on Instagram. The Mark Williams trade hurt us bad. All right, I'm going to try to get. I'm going to try to wait here for. I'm going to try to wait here for Luka. See if Spectrum throws Luka up. If he doesn't, he doesn't. It's a good question by Sam. Do we win this series with AD? What's funny is I do think the Lakers go further in the playoffs if they stayed as is. Max Christie and Anthony Davis. I think they definitely go further in the playoffs. The team was built, was a more complete team that way. Everybody kind of had their role. But do I think they win a championship? No. And do I think they're better off in the future with Luka? Yes. Listen, it's also up to Luka to kind of, is this man going to be in the best shape that he's ever been in his life or no? I don't have that answer. All right. I'll tell you it's not happening. Luka's not happening. Let's see if Jackson Hayes has a response to not playing in this game. Maybe he's got something interesting to say.
I mean, after the All-Star break, I feel like we started getting it clicking a lot. So, I mean, it just doesn't even feel right. Season's over.
When you were in the starting lineup in the regular season, the Lakers went 10-3. Very quickly in this series, JJ went away from you. How was that communicated to you? Did you understand the decision? And what was the feeling like to, especially tonight, not to get a chance to help the team?
Yeah, I mean, they told me, they were upset with me, just saying just to stay ready, and they're going to try some other things out. So, I mean, that's what coach's decision, so I respect that always.
Jackson, in which ways do you feel like you grew this season, and what do you think you showed this year?
I feel like I grew in a good amount of certain ways on defense and just stepping up, showing I can compete at that high level and not just be a backup for a team. I felt like I showed I could be out there playing more. And then obviously there's still a ton of things I need to work on, but I felt pretty good leaving the season.
Obviously, you'll be an unrestricted free agent going into this offseason. I guess what are your initial thoughts of your free agency and how did the way the season ended impact your thoughts going into free agency?
Yeah, I haven't been thinking about that at all. I've just been focused on this playoff series and stuff. I ain't even had time to process that yet, so we'll see.
All right, we'll stop right there. Keep things going. Okay, so that's going to probably do it for tonight. I want to be respectful to the cleaning crew here. They're also getting ready to come in and clean the place up. So I want to be respectful to them as well. I'm back on tomorrow morning. Get ready to do this again. Let me read another super here, Tommy. Even if they had one tonight, I didn't expect them to go much further. It's as simple as we just need size. Rudy dropped 27 and 24. You keep playing the series. I think we're going to know what the result is. I'm back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We can have a lot more of these conversations. Luka says anything interesting, we'll talk about it. We got a lot, obviously, to break down, and we got a lot of time to do it. So offseason officially starts tonight. Thank you to everybody for the supers. Thank you for being a part of the show. please subscribe to the channel. But we'll call it a night tonight, and I will come back tomorrow morning. We'll see you guys in the morning at 8 a.m., and we'll continue to have the conversation. Thank you, everybody. Timberwolves over the Lakers, 103-96. Minnesota wins the series 4-1, and the Lakers offseason officially begins. Thank you for being a part of the show.